I'm just about ready to start some welding. I'm not going to weld the whole thing in one shot. I didn't even grind some of the other side here because of some alignment issues I've got over here. But this alignment over here is pretty good, except for out here at the edge. And I'm going to have to bash on this to try and get this to line up. And I figured the best way to handle this is to weld what's lining up good and nice and flush here and here. And then once that's all welded up and it's got some integrity to it, then I can come out here and figure out how I want to deal with this edge right here. This edge right here actually is sticking out too far. This top part of this right here, this lip that you see here on this side is actually up underneath this. But the only way I'm going to get that to come back out is to bash from the other side. And I don't want to really try and do that because this actually seems, see, this seems round. So something else is going on here. This is pushed down. I can see that. So I can bash from the other side and push this out. But that's not going to help the alignment on the outside here. I'm going to have to probably grind this back further. But I want to get this at least tacked in, and maybe I'll run definitely this bead. So I grooved this out. The previous repairs that somebody had done, those were beads that I don't think they bothered grinding out any metal. I think they just ran beads on top of the cracks. Here I've exposed a spider crack. It actually goes off in a couple different directions here, and rather than gouge that out now, make a groove there and fix that now, I figured I'd wait until I get this pushed out where it needs to be. So anyways, we'll start and see how it goes. Well, be it ever so horrid, I'm calling this done. I've spent the last couple of days working on this. It's been a painstaking process, you know, heating things up, pounding on them, getting it all lined up, getting it close lined up, you know, welding a bead, grinding it back, finding where there's an issue, where there's a void, running multiple beads, you name it. This is a this is a textbook case of how not to probably weld in many of these situations here. But it was just, you know, I'm not a professional welder, obviously, but I am satisfied with this. This big thick bar of steel is where most of the forces are exerted on this thing. From those blades, the centrifugal force of those blades running, flying out this way, you know. So this is the most important structural part right here. This really doesn't experience tremendous forces until it hits a stump and jumps over a stump. The other thing is that when I got this thing, when I first took this off the machine and looked at it, it was riddled with welds. So this had been a problem that somebody had already encountered with it cracking and separation and all that. So there's a huge void right here. The only way that I'm going to be able to fix that is if I cut this out and weld in a patch. And I just, quite frankly, I don't see the point. I think that this is going to be good enough. I welded this cracked area. I ground this back to where I couldn't see any more of the crack and welded that. This side actually came out better, which is funny considering how difficult it was for me to get this to line up. But anyways, and then there was some radial cracks going this way. Here's one here. I V-grooved that out and filled it in, and then I flipped it over and I did multiple beads on the other side too. In particular, I really spent special attention where this bonds to this. So I think it's going to be good. I'm hoping that it's going to run true enough so that it doesn't vibrate like a son of a gun. So what I think I'll do is, I think I'll put this on the machine without the blades. Before I put the blades on, I'll run it and just see how bad or how good it is. If it vibrates really badly, if I put this on here and this doesn't even turn, like if I just freewheel this thing and I can see it's not going to turn true, well, then I'm going to just have to reevaluate my decision to fix this. If it does turn fairly true, then I'll put some power to it with the PTO and get it spinning and see how much vibration we get. And if it seems like it's pretty, it's not misbehaving, then I'll put the blades on and we'll go from there. All right, now I need to replace what's left of it. The outer metal case was already rusted away in areas, and then I also just completely destroyed it taking it out, and it needed to be replaced anyway, so that's not the problem. The problem is, if I go by the model number of the Bush Hog, I think my model number is either a 305 or a 350. I can find quite a few online for the Bush Hog. Now, problem is, I've seen several sites that had pictures of where it looked quite different, and then some they look like it might be the right one. And I think the reason is, over the years, that this model 305 it's been in production for a long time, and over the years I think they may have used different gearboxes. So I don't think you can rely strictly on the model number. In other words, I could pull up a parts diagram and find the part number for a model 305's gearbox, seals, and everything, but that's a modern parts list for a more modern model. So looking high and low, I was finally able to find a site that listed the dimensions of the seal so that you could check. Matter of fact, they even said, please measure first. The models listed use different gearboxes. This seal is for the heavy-duty gearbox seal, for bottom of gearbox on many rotary cutters. And then it goes on to say that it's 1.938 inches ID, 3 inches OD, and 5/16 width. So let's start with the 3 inches OD. It is deformed a little bit, but I should be able to still get a decent measurement on this section here. Oh, that's good. That's good news. So the 3 inch OD is panning out. Width is 5/16 of an inch, which in decimal is 0.3125. Wow, that's not even close. It's interesting. That is about half the width of this. And oddly enough, this is a double lip seal. So you could almost make the argument that this is almost like two seals stacked on top of each other. I wonder whether or not it might be just a matter of stacking two seals on top of each other. There doesn't appear to be anything to tell me that this is a double lip seal, whereas a lot of the other listings I saw specifically describe this as a double lip seal. They're giving a part number, a Tisco part number of 100 or 1007 BH. So 1.938 ID. Let's see how that works out. Yeah, that looks good. Doesn't want to quite go in, but that's the lip of the seal is distorted. But I think that looks good. All right. Hey, so get a load of this. So I found on a website a parts breakdown that actually shows the one of the gearboxes, and shows that number 14, you notice it's two seals stacked right on top of each other. So this is for one of the gearboxes that is now obsolete for that particular model cutter. And that's on Messic's website. So let me see what else they have here. This is supposedly this is the Bush Hog Model 305 and 306. Oh, and that 1007 BH part number that I found on the previous site is also. So that we're looking at a seal that has the same OD as this, but is half the height of this because they're stacking two of them together. Here we go. Here's the other gearbox. That's showing a single seal. So there's the seal on the other gearbox, part number 6, and you can see it's a single seal. It's a Chicago rawhide seal, which is nice, but unfortunately they're not going to tell us what the Chicago rawhide number was. And it's funny, they're given the same part number, 1007 BH. That's weird. As luck would have it, as destroyed as this seal is, this little area here is intact and appears to have an original seal number on it. Some heavy pitting on there, so a couple of the digits are a little ambiguous, but I'm going to see if I can't make heads or tails out of it. This is where Google autofill for search really comes in handy. The number that I think I can see looks like a 3A6409-12 appears to be the number. The 3A I'm pretty sure about, but these other numbers here, the 6409, not sure about, and -12 I am. But the beauty is that if I just plug that number into Google, it doesn't work, but I know it's a Chicago rawhide seal. So if I put in Chicago rawhide followed by, and I start typing in that number, as soon as I start typing in Chicago rawhide 3A, it autofills and suggests 6409-12 seal. Well, after a lot of searching and figuring, in the end, what I decided to do was I decided to just order two 19359 seals, the 3-inch OD and the correct ID. But you can see that they are much shorter. So if I stack these two seals on top of each other like that, I'm basically recreating what's going on here. At least that's how I'm going to deal with it. Before I can put the new seals in, when I look in here, the grease that I see in here looks really muddy and gross. And I'm worried that maybe there might be some water that had gotten in there. So what I want to do is I want to flush out that gearbox before I put the new seals in and put the new oil in. The reason why I want to do it now is because there is no drain. There's no low point drain on this gearbox. I don't quite understand. I couldn't find one. So right now, if I take out the fill plug on the top, if I lower this down into the horizontal position, take out the fill plug on the top and put fluid in there, it should run right down through this bearing, cleaning this bearing out and into my pan. That's the theory anyways. Yes, that's the theory. Do you believe that would work? Do you believe that would work? Yes? Okay, you don't seem to be full of answers. Don't sit down and act like I'm going to give you something. I have nothing for you. I'll get that shaft out so I wouldn't bend it. Just blew a hydraulic line. started draining out, and you can see it's pretty gross stuff. I'll get my camera out of the way of the geyser that keeps squirting out of that thing. Alright, tricky part is repositioning that pan a little bit as I lower it more and more. Sure as hell don't want to get underneath there, because if that chain would have let go, well, that would really ruin my day.